Bubble Symphony was released in 1994 in the arcades, and in 1997 to the Japanese SEGA Saturn. The game was developed by Tato, and brought to the Saturn by Ving. It never made it outside Japan, which is a crying shame because for all intents and purposes, this really is Bubble Bobble 2. For those hardcore enough, you might know that there actually is a Bubble Bobble Part 2 released on the NES and Game Boy. However, that version was never released in the arcades, and is one of the only games in the series that does not feature cooperative play. As far as I'm concerned, this truly is the real Bubble Bobble 2. The Saturn already has Bubble Bobble featuring Rainbow Islands, which I'll tackle in another review, but it's a real shame this one was kept in Japan and only in Japan, because as you can see, it's incredibly simple fun. The action is much like the original NES version, except this time around you can select from 4 dinos, not just 2. That said, the game remains 2-player only, well, plus single player, and no, there is no 4-player multiplayer. But I guess that's okay considering how the game is played and how much fun it is. I think if you had 4 players on these small little arenas, that would be a little bit overkill. The graphics won't shock and amaze you, however the colors might. I love how each stage has its own sort of unique theme, although I wish there was more variety in the backgrounds. The sound effects do what they need to, but sadly the music can drag. There's essentially one tune that plays throughout the entire game. This isn't the type of game that was going to wow people on its audio-visual presentation, but I have to admit I absolutely love it just the way it is. Much like the original Bubble Bobble, you play one stationary screen of a level after the next. Your objective is to trap enemies inside bubbles you throw out of your dino's mouth. Yes, you're vomiting bubbles. After that, pop the bubble and you'll be rewarded with a fruit and the enemy will be defeated. Stages get more and more challenging the further you progress, and eventually you'll have to figure out how to beat a giant boss after, a couple of stages. They're massive enemies that require quite a few hits, and, well, they're often quite challenging. New to Bubble Symphony are all the different types of helper bubbles you can pop. Sure, you've seen the lightning bubble before, which, when popped, zaps out a lightning shot horizontally across the screen, killing any enemies instantly. But now there's a rainbow bubble, which once pops shoots out a rainbow wave vertically. There's also wind, water, and fire bubbles that have a wide array of special attacks to help you out. Each of the 4 playable characters also has access to a special charge shot, which does something different. One character may throw out, say, like 3 bubbles at once, for example. However, to be honest, I never found there was that much time to charge my shot, and I just never really played with that gameplay mechanic. Well, you can see that in the video. The 4 playable characters also have different attributes in terms of walking speed, bubble speed, and bubble range. By far my biggest gripe I have with the game is the fact that you can continue for what appears to be forever, but I think there's something like 99 tries. That means you really don't need skill in this game. You don't have to keep practicing to get better and better, and for a console game that's a bit of a shame. Yes, I guess you could argue that it works sort of like an arcade game where you just plunk in another token, but I just think it would have been better had they limited the continues a bit. I can't tell you though overall how much fun I had with this game back in the day when the Saturn was still relevant. Friends used to come over all the time to experience one of the best versions of Bubble Bobble. While it's certainly a simple game, and yes, there's no real challenge because of the continues, it remains a fun game to play to this very day. It has great sprite work and will keep you occupied for hours. What more could you ask for from a simple arcade game? Sadly, what used to be a really inexpensive game has jumped up to around the $100 mark, and that kinda makes it a hard recommend only because it is a simple arcade game. So what I suggest is see if you can get an auction or a buy it now for around the $45 mark. Any more than that and it's kinda not worth it. but if you can find it at an affordable price, this is one you certainly should check out. Grab a friend and go have a blast. If you don't want to play the Sega Saturn version, you can pick up the Tato Legends 2 collection on PC, which was released in both North America and Europe, as well as I believe the Xbox in Europe only. So there are ways of playing the game, although, hey, we're talking about the Saturn here. So if you want this version, like I said, see if you can get it for a good deal and go check it out.